Hi everyone and welcome back to the Sweetie Nail Supply channel. Today we are finishing our DVOK Four Seasons series with the winter collection. We will be using these cool toned colors to create a variety of cozy winter designs, each featuring some sort of 3D texture to add flair and interest to your nail art. We will take you step by step through each technique, all of which are beginner friendly. So if that sounds good to you, please stay tuned and make sure you are subscribed for future nail art tutorials. But first, let's swatch each color of the winter portion to show you what variety you get in this collection. The winter colors in the DVOK Four Seasons set very much feel cool toned, focusing on blues, grays, purples, and more neutral to cool undertones. The shades definitely tell a story of winter. You do get a couple gray shades, one that is almost white, but very much a cool-toned white. However, this collection also surprises by adding in a few non-traditional winter colors, like this seafoam green that still feels very fitting within the set, but isn't something you might traditionally think of when you think winter. Alongside the blues, you get a gorgeous array of purples too, all of which are more on the cool tone side as opposed to some of the purple colors in the fall or the summer or spring collections. The set is also rounded off with a very lovely dusty rose color in two different shades, one lighter and one darker. And the last two shades are a nude and a tan. Again, not colors one might typically associate with winter, but colors that help add variety to the set, which makes it easily usable throughout the whole year and not just during the winter months. So here are all of the colors put together on the swatch card. We are going to focus on the first four for this nail art tutorial. Starting with our ice nails, we are going to be doing an ombre. So you first want to gauge how far up that ombre should go, and then you want to paint on a layer polish, extending to just under where your free edge would be once you apply the nail. We're then using the Nail Bio brush number 6, which is an ombre brush, to blend out that edge. Start by pulling the polish towards the free edge, and then it can help to kind of crisscross your strokes to blend that even further. This just melts together any harsh lines that you might have created. And then give that layer a cure and repeat those steps until you get your desired color payoff. We're just doing 2 layers since we will be adding a layer of cat eye gel over this. Notice here that we're not bringing that ombre up quite as far as the last layer. This will just really help create a smooth transition. And the wonderful thing about syrup gels is because they have that slight transparency already, they blend beautifully and create gorgeous, effortless ombres. For a little sparkle, we're actually going to be using one of DVOK's new polishes from their unicorn collection, DM55, and layering this over our ombre. This will just give it a nice subtle shine, similar to how frost creates a sparkle on whatever surface it covers. We're going to blend this out with the same ombre brush and then magnetize this in a French pattern. You want to start by bringing all of the particles to the surface of the nail by running the bar magnet alongside the edge. And then you want to take your bar magnet and turn it so it's perpendicular to the nail and hover it above the surface. A 45-degree angle works best for this, and you just want to hold it there until you get the desired effect. Once you do, quickly lock those magnetic particles in place by curing. And then we're going to repeat this same process on the ring finger. Start with an ombre of 2 layers of DS69 and then go in with that magnetic gel. Blend out those edges and magnetize it in the French shape. And once you are all done, make sure that is fully cured as well before wiping off the tacky layer for both nails. You don't want the surface to be sticky for the next part, which is our ice technique. You will need some cling film, and you want to cut this into very small pieces. They really only need to be slightly bigger than the nail tip. And then you will need some sort of thick non-wipe gel. It's important that it is non-wipe, so we're going to use the Jinbei Crazy Top. For this look, you really do need something that's going to hold its shape. And then you want to apply that gel to the underside of the nail tip. Make sure that it's not extending past where your finger would be. Once you have a decent amount of gel lumped on there, you'll take your cling film and place it on the uncured gel. Then you want to take a sharp implement, something like tweezers, to really create those divots in the gel. While this is a thicker consistency product, you do still want to work pretty quickly, otherwise it will self-level and you'll lose some of that nice texture. So cure right away when you're happy with the design, and once it's finished curing, you should be able to just peel off that cling film, and you're left with a gorgeous ice effect. You may have some gel overflow on the edges, and you can simply just file that away with a hand file. And because we've used a non-wipe gel, none of this dust will stick, and you'll be able to keep that beautiful texture without needing to top coat over it. Once you're done with the ice effect, we do need to top coat the surface of the nail, and so we're going in with the DVOK Enamel Top Gel, and this just brings out the luster and shine of that cat eye polish so well. We are going to wrap the edges of the nail just to make sure we smooth out where we filed the shape down and give that a full cure. To finish off this nail with some icicles, we are going to be using the DVOK Canvas Gel in white. This can be purchased in both a tube and a jar, and it is a thick painting gel that is a non-wipe consistency, meaning you can use it as the last step in a nail design like we're doing here. We're just going to paint on some icicles with a liner brush around the cuticle edge of the nail, and this doesn't have to be super neat or precise. In fact, if it's a little bit messy, the more realistic it looks. When you're done with the design, give it a full cure and that nail is finished. For our next design, we are going to start by laying down 3 layers of DS71 just to really build up the color. This will be the base of a tweed nail. Tweed nails are such a trendy winter look, perfect for that cozy feeling of putting on a thicker fabric to wear when it's cold outside. To achieve the fabric look, once we have our 3 layers of color down and cured, we're going to be topping it with the DVOK Zero Matte Top. Paint on a thin layer of this and give it a full cure for the matte effect. Then we are laying down a small amount of DS69, DS70, and DS72 on a palette, along with that unicorn gel. And we are going to be turning these into thick embossing gels using the Yogo Embo Meal Powder. This is a mixing powder that you can add to any gel polish to create a thicker 3D type gel. The amount you mix in will determine how thick the product gets. You can add a little to simply thicken up the gel slightly for more of an embossed effect, or you can keep adding powder until you get to sort of a polygel texture for 3D characters. For the tweed look, we want something in between that will hold its shape, but that won't be too thick to manipulate. Then using a liner brush, you just want to start layering on the colors and crisscrossed lines, making sure to cure in between each layer. That's important for creating volume and ensuring that the colors don't mix together. What you're really trying to emulate is the look of stitching with different colored threads being interwoven between each other. We also ended up using that DVOK White Canvas Gel just to add little pops of highlights. And once you've filled most of the empty space with color, cure your final layer, and then we are going to add one more layer of the DVOK Matte Top Coat just to seal everything in. And that nail is finished as well. For our last textured design, we're going to show you another way to use the Embo Meal Powder. This time we're starting with 3 layers of DS72 on the pinky, curing in between to get a nice even background color. Once you've cured your final layer of color, then we're going in with that same DVOK Matte Top Coat, painting on a layer and giving that a full cure as well. And then we'll mix that same color with just a small amount of the Embo powder to thicken that gel up just slightly. We'll be using this thickened gel to create a 3D sweater pattern on the surface of the nail. You want to paint on your pattern and not cure this. The thicker polish just means it will stay in place better. And then you want to take that Embo powder and lightly pour or sprinkle it over that uncured gel. This will sort of soak into or combine with the gel polish underneath and create more of a raised texture. You can knock off some of the excess and then go in with more powder to create an even more defined 3D texture, and then stick this in the nail lamp to fully cure the gel. Once it's fully cured, you can wipe away the excess and you're left with this really cool embossed pattern. This technique opens lots of doors for creativity, as you can paint really any pattern that you would like on the surface of a nail, add the Embo powder, and create that embossed look. Another way of doing this is to paint on your design, keep the gel uncured, and then lightly dip the nail into the powder jar itself. Just be careful to really be light-handed with this, as you don't want to flatten the design too much. And you can even go in and repeat these steps after curing the first layer of embossed design to create even more depth. It's a really fun technique to play around with, and we encourage you to experiment. But once you have your final layer finished and cured, make sure to really wipe away the excess powder well, and this design is done. We hope you enjoyed the last installment of our DVOK Four Seasons series. It's been so much fun to show how versatile these colors are and what different sorts of seasonal designs you can make with them. All of the products we used are listed down below, and make sure to tag us in anything you're creating with the DVOK Four Seasons collection. We'd love to see your work as well. If you have any suggestions for types of tutorials you'd like to see from us in the future, please feel free to leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out. But we thank you for watching, and we hope to see you next time.